r/TrueOffMyChest. My teacher took credit for my work, so I exposed her to the principal. I'm standing outside Principal Martinez's office with a manila folder that's about to destroy my AP biology teacher's career, and honestly, I've never felt more terrified or vindicated in my entire life. My hands are literally shaking as I clutch the evidence that proves Mrs. Henderson stole my months of research and submitted it as her own work to the state science competition. The same competition that could have gotten me a full ride to MIT. The same competition where she's currently being praised as some kind of innovative educator while I sit in her class every day, watching her bask in glory that should have been mine. You can go in now, the secretary says, and I swear my heart stops beating for a full second. This all started 3 months ago when I had what I thought was the breakthrough of my high school career. I'd been obsessing over antibiotic resistance patterns in our local water supply, staying up until 2 a.m. running tests in my makeshift home lab, aka my garage. My parents thought I'd lost my mind, but I knew I was onto something big. The data was incredible. I'd found specific bacterial mutations that no one had documented in our region before. It was scholarship-worthy material, maybe even publication-worthy. I was so excited that I made the biggest mistake of my life. I trusted Mrs. Henderson. She'd always been my favorite teacher. Tough but fair, and she actually seemed to care about students who were passionate about science. When I brought her my preliminary findings, her eyes lit up like Christmas morning. She encouraged me to dig deeper, offered to let me use the school lab after hours, even helped me refine my methodology. I should have known something was wrong when she started asking really specific questions about my data collection methods. When she wanted copies of everything to help me organize my thoughts. When she insisted I keep the project between us until it was ready for the world. Like an idiot, I trusted her completely. Fast forward to 2 weeks ago. I'm scrolling through the district website when I see a headline that makes my blood turn to ice. Local educators' groundbreaking research wins state science competition. There's Mrs. Henderson's photo, smiling that same encouraging smile she'd given me in her classroom. And underneath it, word for word, is MY research. My findings. My methodology. My conclusions. Even some of my exact phrasing from drafts I'd shared with her. All of it credited to Dr. Sarah Henderson and her innovative independent research. I sat in my room for 3 hours just staring at that article, feeling like someone had reached into my chest and ripped out my heart. This wasn't just theft, this was the destruction of my entire future. That competition was my golden ticket. The winner gets automatic consideration for the Chancellor's Science Scholarship, which covers full tuition plus research opportunities. But Mrs. Henderson made one crucial mistake. She might be manipulative and brilliant, but she's not tech-savvy. She has no idea that every document I create is automatically backed up to the cloud with timestamps. She doesn't know I recorded our conversations when she was helping me because I wanted to remember her advice. And she definitely doesn't know about the email trail where I discussed my findings with my cousin at Stanford 2 months before she supposedly discovered them. The folder in my hands contains printouts of everything. Timestamped documents. Audio files. Email screenshots. Photo evidence of my garage lab setup. Even my original failed experiments that led to the breakthrough. Principal Martinez's door opens, and I take a deep breath. Time to end Mrs. Henderson's career. Come in, sit down, Principal Martinez says, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. He's got that tired look administrators get right before winter break, like he's already mentally checked out for the holidays. Thank you for seeing me on such short notice, I manage, trying to keep my voice steady. The folder feels like it weighs 100 pounds in my lap. Of course. Your message said this was urgent and involved academic integrity. He leans back in his chair, probably expecting some typical high school drama about cheating on a test or plagiarized essays. If only it were that simple. Yes, sir. But before I start, I need you to know that what I'm about to show you is going to sound completely insane. I have evidence that Mrs. Henderson stole my original research and submitted it to the state science competition under her name. The words hang in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled out. Principal Martinez's eyebrows shoot up, and he sits forward. That's a very serious accusation, Emily. Mrs. Henderson has been with this district for 15 years. She's one of our most respected. I know how it sounds, I interrupt, my heart hammering against my ribs. But I have proof. Time-stamped documents, recordings, email evidence. Everything. I slide the folder across his desk, and he opens it slowly. I watch his face as he scans the first page, my original research proposal, dated 3 months ago. Then the second page, the district announcement crediting Mrs. Henderson with identical findings. This could be coincidental research, he says carefully, but I can see doubt creeping into his expression. Scientists sometimes reach similar conclusions independently. Page 3, I say quietly. He flips to the screenshot of Mrs. Henderson's submitted abstract. It's not just similar to my work, entire sentences are copy-pasted directly from my drafts. Word for word. Including a typo where I'd written resistance instead of resistance in my early notes. Principal Martinez goes very still. Where did you get this? I have a friend whose mom works in the district office. She sent me the public records request documents when I asked to see the winning submission. My palms are sweating. Keep reading. He does, and with each page, his frown deepens. The timestamps showing my cloud backups from 2 months before Mrs. Henderson's breakthrough. The email thread with my Stanford cousin where I detailed my methodology. Screenshots of our text conversations where she asked me to send her everything for safekeeping. You recorded your conversations, he asks, holding up the transcript pages. I wanted to remember her advice. She was helping me so much, or so I thought. I never imagined. My voice cracks despite my best efforts. She was stealing everything. Every late night I spent in my garage, every failed experiment, every breakthrough moment, she just took it all. Principal Martinez closes the folder and looks at me for a long moment. Emily, do you understand what you're alleging here? This isn't just academic dishonesty. If what you're saying is true, this is fraud. It could end her career, her reputation, everything. She ended mine first, I whisper, and I hate how small my voice sounds. That scholarship was my only shot at MIT. My parents can't afford. I stop myself before I completely break down. He picks up his phone. Mrs. Chen, can you ask Mrs. Henderson to come to my office immediately? Tell her it's urgent. He hangs up and looks at me grimly. She'll be here in 5 minutes. Are you absolutely certain you want to do this? The question hits me like a punch to the gut. Am I ready to destroy my favorite teacher's life? Then I remember her smile in that district photo, wearing MY achievements like a crown. Yes, I say firmly. I'm sure. The 5 minutes feel like 5 hours. Principal Martinez busies himself reviewing the evidence again while I sit there trying not to hyperventilate. Every few seconds, I catch him glancing at me with this mixture of concern and disbelief, like he's still processing that a 17-year-old just walked into his office with enough evidence to torpedo a teacher's entire career. Then I hear her voice in the outer office, bright and cheerful as always. Good morning, Mrs. Chen. Mr. Martinez wanted to see me. My stomach drops to my shoes. This is really happening. Send her in, Principal Martinez calls out, and I watch him subtly position the folder so it's not immediately visible. Mrs. Henderson walks in with that same warm smile she's given me 1,000 times before. She's wearing her lucky blazer, the navy one with tiny DNA helixes embroidered on the lapels that she always wears for important meetings. When she sees me sitting there, her smile falters for just a split second before snapping back into place. Oh. Emily, what a surprise. I hope everything's alright. The concern in her voice sounds so genuine that for a horrible moment, I almost doubt myself. This is the woman who stayed after school to help me understand protein synthesis. Who wrote me glowing recommendation letters. Who told me I had the potential to change the world. Who stole my future. Please, have a seat, Sarah, Principal Martinez says, gesturing to the chair next to mine. She sits down, and I catch a whiff of her usual perfume, something floral and expensive. It's weirdly intimate, sitting this close to someone whose life I'm about to destroy. What can I do for you, she asks, but there's something different in her voice now. A carefulness that wasn't there before. Principal Martinez leans forward. We need to discuss the research you submitted to the state science competition. Specifically, your methodology and findings regarding antibiotic resistance patterns. I watch Mrs. Henderson's face carefully. There's the tiniest tightening around her eyes, gone so fast I almost miss it. Of course. I'm so thrilled about the recognition. It's been such an exciting project to work on. She turns to me with that teacher smile. Emily, you're one of my most promising students. I hope this inspires you to pursue your own research someday. The audacity of it hits me like a slap. She's sitting right next to me, talking about MY work, and somehow making it sound like she's doing me a favor by letting me witness her moment of triumph. Actually, Principal Martinez says slowly, that's exactly what we need to discuss. Emily has brought some concerns to my attention about the originality of your research. The temperature in the room seems to drop 10 degrees. Mrs. Henderson's smile doesn't waver, but something shifts behind her eyes. I'm not sure I understand, she says carefully. This is my moment. I turn to face her directly. The bacterial mutations you found in the local water supply. The specific methodology you used. Even the equipment setup. Where did you get those ideas? She blinks once, twice. Well, as you know, Emily, scientific research builds on existing knowledge. I drew from multiple sources, years of experience. What about the typo? I interrupt, my voice stronger now. In your abstract, you wrote resistance instead of resistance. That's not a common misspelling. For the first time, Mrs. Henderson looks genuinely rattled. Typos happen, Emily. I'm not sure what you're implying. Principal Martinez picks up the folder. Sarah, I'm going to need you to look at some documents. As he opens it to the first page, I see Mrs. Henderson's face change completely. The warm teacher mask slips away, replaced by something cold and calculating. She knows exactly what's in that folder. And she knows she's been caught. Mrs. Henderson stares at the folder for what feels like an eternity, and I can literally see her mind racing, trying to figure out damage control. When she finally speaks, her voice has lost all its warmth. I think I know what's happening here, she says, turning to Principal Martinez with a concerned expression that makes my blood boil. Emily has been struggling in my class lately. Her grades have dropped, and I've had to have several conversations with her about the quality of her work. Wait. What? She came to me a few weeks ago asking for extra credit opportunities because she was worried about her GPA affecting her college applications. I mentioned my research project in passing, thinking it might inspire her to pursue her own independent study. Principal Martinez glances between us, and I can see doubt creeping into his expression. No. No, this is not happening. That's not, I start, but Mrs. Henderson keeps talking, her voice gaining confidence. I'm concerned that Emily may have misunderstood our conversations and convinced herself that she contributed more to my work than she actually did. It's not uncommon for students to experience this kind of confusion when they're under stress about their academic future. She's making me sound delusional. Like some desperate, failing student who's having a breakdown. My hands clench into fists in my lap. Sarah, Principal Martinez says slowly, these documents show timestamps from months ago. Emily's claiming she developed this research independently, before any conversations with you. Timestamps can be manipulated, she says smoothly. And frankly, I'm concerned about where Emily obtained my competition submission materials. That information wasn't supposed to be public yet. My heart stops. She's right, technically, I shouldn't have been able to access her submission. The friend of a friend connection suddenly feels a lot less solid when she puts it that way. Emily, Principal Martinez turns to me, how exactly did you obtain Mrs. Henderson's research documents? The room feels like it's spinning. This is going completely off the rails. My friend's mom works in the district office, and I asked to see the public records. Public records that weren't yet public, Mrs. Henderson adds gently, like she's trying to help me understand my own mistake. Emily, I think you're confused about the timeline here. I'm not confused. The words come out louder than I intended, and both adults look at me with that expression adults get when they think a teenager is having an emotional outburst. She's lying. She stole my work. Emily, I understand you're upset, Mrs. Henderson says in her most soothing teacher voice. The stress of senior year can be overwhelming. Maybe we should call your parents. I think you need some support right now. This is a nightmare. She's twisting everything, making me look like an unstable kid who can't handle academic pressure. And the worst part is, I can see it working. Principal Martinez is looking at me with concern now, not conviction. The recordings, I say desperately. I have recordings of our conversations where you asked me to send you everything. You recorded me without my consent. Mrs. Henderson's eyebrows shoot up, and she turns to Principal Martinez with shock. That's illegal in this state. You need two-party consent for recordings. My stomach drops to the floor. I hadn't thought about that. In all my planning and evidence gathering, I never considered whether the recordings themselves might be inadmissible. Emily, Principal Martinez says carefully, did you record Mrs. Henderson without telling her? The trap is closing around me. Every piece of evidence I thought was bulletproof is being systematically dismantled by someone who clearly knows how to play this game better than I do. Mrs. Henderson is watching me with fake sympathy, but I catch something else in her expression, a tiny smirk of satisfaction that she thinks no one else can see. That's when I realize I'm not just fighting for my research anymore. I'm fighting for my sanity. But then I remember something that makes my heart race with hope instead of panic. Principal Martinez, I say, forcing my voice to stay calm even though I feel like I'm drowning. Can you please look at page 12 in that folder? Mrs. Henderson's confident expression flickers for just a second, and I know she has no idea what's on page 12. Because page 12 is something I added to the folder this morning, something I'd almost forgotten about until she started this whole performance. Principal Martinez flips through the pages, and I watch his face carefully as he reads. It's a printed email chain between me and Dr. Rebecca Torres at the local university's Environmental Science Department. This is correspondence with Dr. Torres, he says, looking up at me. Yes, sir. From 6 weeks ago. I reached out to her because I needed access to more sophisticated testing equipment for my water samples. Equipment the school doesn't have. I turn to look directly at Mrs. Henderson, whose face has gone completely pale. Dr. Torres was so impressed with my preliminary findings that she invited me to use her lab and even offered to co-author a paper with me. The silence in the room is deafening. Mrs. Henderson is staring at the folder like it contains a live bomb. The email chain includes detailed discussions of my methodology, my data, and my conclusions. Dr. Torres even suggested improvements to my testing protocols. I pause, letting that sink in. She has copies of all my raw data from before I ever showed Mrs. Henderson my work. Principal Martinez is reading more carefully now, and I can see his entire demeanor shifting back toward suspicion. It says here that Dr. Torres was planning to help you submit this to the Regional Undergraduate Research Symposium. She was. Until I told her that my teacher thought I should wait and refine the project more. My voice gets bitter. Mrs. Henderson convinced me that I wasn't ready, that rushing into publication would hurt my credibility. She said she wanted to help me make it perfect first. Mrs. Henderson finally finds her voice, but it's not nearly as steady as before. I was trying to protect Emily from embarrassing herself. Student research often isn't as groundbreaking as students think it is. Dr. Torres seemed to think it was groundbreaking enough to potentially publish, Principal Martinez says quietly, still reading. She mentions here that Emily's findings could have significant implications for local public health policy. I pull out my phone. Dr. Torres is expecting my call today, actually. She wanted an update on my progress. I can call her right now if you'd like to verify any of this. The suggestion hits Mrs. Henderson like a physical blow. Her whole body tenses, and for the first time since this conversation started, she looks genuinely panicked. That won't be necessary, she says quickly. I'm sure there's been some kind of misunderstanding here. Perhaps Emily and I developed similar ideas independently. With identical typos. I interrupt. Using the exact same phrasing. Even down to the specific bacterial strain classifications that Dr. Torres helped me identify. Principal Martinez closes the folder and looks directly at Mrs. Henderson. Sarah, I think we need to contact Dr. Torres ourselves. This is becoming a very serious situation. Mrs. Henderson's mask finally slips completely. The warm, concerned teacher expression disappears, replaced by something cold and desperate. You don't understand. I've worked at this school for 15 years. I have a reputation, a career. This girl is trying to destroy everything I built over some adolescent fantasy about being a scientist. The venom in her voice shocks even me. This is who she really is underneath all the encouragement and mentorship. This adolescent just provided collaboration with a university professor, Principal Martinez says icily. Emily, I think it's time we made that phone call. My hands are shaking as I scroll through my contacts to find Dr. Torres' number, but it's not from nerves anymore, it's pure adrenaline. Mrs. Henderson looks like a cornered animal, and I can practically see her calculating her next move. Wait, she says suddenly, her voice taking on a different tone. Before we involve outside parties, I think there's something you both should know about Emily's reliability. Here we go. I can see it in her eyes, she's about to drop some kind of nuclear option. Principal Martinez pauses, his finger hovering over his own phone. What do you mean? Mrs. Henderson takes a deep breath, and when she speaks, her voice is filled with what sounds like genuine regret. I didn't want to bring this up, but Emily has been exhibiting some concerning behaviors in my class. Mood swings, paranoid thoughts about other students copying her work, accusations against classmates that turned out to be unfounded. My blood turns to ice. That's not. Just last month, she accused Jeremy Peterson of stealing her lab notes. I had to spend an entire afternoon mediating that situation, only to discover that Jeremy's work was completely original and Emily had simply made an error in her own calculations. Principal Martinez glances at me, and I see doubt creeping back into his expression. The Jeremy Peterson thing was a misunderstanding. I thought someone had taken my notes from my lab station, but I just grabbed the wrong folder. It was embarrassing, but hardly evidence of paranoia. She also had an incident with the lab equipment, Mrs. Henderson continues, gaining confidence. She became convinced that someone was sabotaging her experiments when really she was just making procedural errors. I've been trying to help her work through these issues, but I'm starting to worry that the pressure of senior year and college applications has affected her judgment more seriously than I realized. She's painting a picture of me as an unstable, paranoid student who can't tell reality from fantasy. And the worst part is, she's taking real incidents and twisting them just enough to make me sound unhinged. Emily, Principal Martinez says gently, have you been feeling overwhelmed lately? Sometimes stress can make us see patterns that aren't really there. She's manipulating you. I say, and I hate how desperate I sound. This is exactly what she's doing, making me seem crazy so you won't believe the evidence. The evidence that includes illegally recorded conversations and documents you obtained through unauthorized channels. Mrs. Henderson asks softly. Emily, I'm worried about you. This level of fixation isn't healthy. Principal Martinez is looking between us like he's watching a tennis match, and I can see him trying to figure out which version of reality to believe. The respected 15-year veteran teacher, or the stressed-out teenager with a folder full of potentially illegally obtained evidence. Call Dr. Torres, I say, my voice cracking. Please. Just call her. She'll confirm everything. The timestamps, the data, the methodology, everything. Mrs. Henderson's eyes flash with something that might be panic, but she recovers quickly. Of course, we should call Dr. Torres. But I think we should also call Emily's parents. And perhaps the school counselor. This level of distress requires support from multiple adults. She's trying to turn this into a mental health intervention instead of an academic integrity investigation. Bringing in my parents and the counselor would completely derail everything, turning the focus from her theft to my supposed psychological breakdown. I'm not having a breakdown, I say firmly, standing up from my chair. I'm being systematically gaslit by someone who stole months of my work and is now trying to make me seem crazy for fighting back. The word gaslight seems to hit something in Principal Martinez's expression. Maybe because it's not a word most teenagers throw around casually, or maybe because he's starting to see the pattern Mrs. Henderson is weaving. Sarah, he says slowly, before we bring in additional parties, I think we should make that call to Dr. Torres. If Emily's research collaboration is documented through the university, that should be easy enough to verify. Mrs. Henderson's smile looks painted on now. Of course. But I really do think Emily's parents should be present for this conversation. They're both at work, I say quickly. But Dr. Torres should be in her office. She told me she keeps office hours until 4 p.m. on Fridays. Principal Martinez checks his watch. It's 2:30. Emily, dial the number. As I start to dial, I catch Mrs. Henderson's reflection in the window behind Principal Martinez's desk. She's not looking concerned anymore. She's looking absolutely murderous. The phone rings once, twice, and I'm praying Dr. Torres picks up. Mrs. Henderson is sitting rigidly in her chair, and I can practically feel the rage radiating off her in waves. Environmental Science Department, Dr. Torres speaking. Dr. Torres. This is Emily Chen. We spoke about my water quality research project. Emily. Perfect timing. I was just reviewing your latest data sets. How did the additional testing go with the equipment modifications I suggested? Relief floods through me so powerfully I almost cry. Actually, Dr. Torres, I'm here with my principal and my teacher. We're having some issues with my research, and I was wondering if you could help clarify the timeline of our collaboration. There's a pause. Of course. Is everything all right? You sound stressed. Principal Martinez leans toward the phone. Dar. Torres, this is Principal Martinez from Westfield High. I have you on speaker with Emily and her teacher, Mrs. Henderson. We need to verify some details about Emily's research project for our records. Certainly. Emily's been working with me for about 6 weeks now. Remarkable student, her findings on the bacterial resistance patterns in your local water supply are potentially publishable. I've been encouraging her to submit to the undergraduate research symposium, but she mentioned her teacher wanted her to wait. Mrs. Henderson's face has gone completely white. She opens her mouth to speak, but Principal Martinez holds up a hand to stop her. Dr. Torres, can you tell us when Emily first contacted you about this research? Let me check my calendar. Yes, here it is. October 15th was our first email exchange. She sent me her preliminary data and methodology. I was so impressed that I invited her to use our lab facilities within the week. And the research was entirely Emily's work. Absolutely. In fact, I've been documenting our collaboration because I want to include her as co-author on any publications. Her methodology is innovative. She developed a testing protocol that my graduate students are now adapting for their own projects. The silence in the room is deafening. Mrs. Henderson looks like she's about to be sick. Dr. Torres, I managed to say, can you tell them about the specific bacterial strains we identified? Of course. The Pseudomonas aeruginosa variants with the novel beta-lactamase expressions were particularly fascinating. And the correlation you found with seasonal temperature fluctuations, brilliant work, Emily. Where did you come up with that approach? Those are the exact findings Mrs. Henderson claimed as her own breakthrough discoveries. Principal Martinez is staring at Mrs. Henderson with an expression I can't quite read. Dr. Torres, we may need you to provide written documentation of your collaboration with Emily. Would that be possible? Absolutely. I have all our email exchanges, copies of her data, even photos from when she worked in our lab. Emily, what's going on? You're worrying me. Mrs. Henderson suddenly stands up, her chair scraping against the floor. I think there's been enough of this harassment, she says, her voice shaking with barely controlled fury. Emily is clearly manipulating this situation, and I won't sit here while she destroys my reputation with lies and fabricated evidence. Fabricated? Dr. Torres's voice comes through the phone sharp and clear. I'm sorry, who am I speaking to? This is Sarah Henderson, Emily's biology teacher. And I think you should know that this student has a history of making false accusations and exhibiting unstable behavior. The line goes quiet for a moment, then Dr. Torres's voice returns, ice cold. Are you suggesting that I've been collaborating with an unstable student for 6 weeks without noticing? Or that a high school student somehow fabricated sophisticated research data that my graduate students have verified? Mrs. Henderson's face flushes red. I'm not suggesting anything about your competence, Dr. Torres. But Emily has been under tremendous stress, and the only stress I'm hearing, Dr. Torres interrupts, is from someone trying very hard to discredit a brilliant young scientist. Emily, I want you to know that our collaboration stands, regardless of whatever is happening at your school. Your research is groundbreaking, and no one can take that away from you. Principal Martinez clears his throat. Dr. Torres, I think we have everything we need for now. Thank you for your time. Emily, call me later. We need to discuss next steps for protecting your work. The call ends, and the three of us sit in heavy silence. Mrs. Henderson is breathing hard, her perfect teacher facade completely shattered. Sarah, Principal Martinez says quietly, I think we need to have a very different conversation now. But Mrs. Henderson isn't done fighting yet. When she speaks, her voice is venomous. You have no idea what you've just done, Emily. Mrs. Henderson's threat hangs in the air like poison gas, and I watch Principal Martinez's expression shift from confusion to alarm. The woman sitting next to me doesn't even look like a teacher anymore, she looks like someone who's been backed into a corner and is ready to bite. Sarah, Principal Martinez says carefully, I think you need to step back and consider what you're saying right now. What I'm saying, she responds, her voice deadly quiet, is that this little girl has no idea what kind of forces she's just set in motion. You think this ends with me? You think I'm the only one involved in this? My blood turns to ice. What do you mean? She laughs, but there's nothing warm about it. Oh, Emily. Sweet, naive Emily. Did you really think a high school biology teacher could single-handedly submit research to a state competition? Do you have any idea how many people had to sign off on my submission? Principal Martinez leans forward. Sarah, what are you talking about? Department heads. District administrators. The science curriculum coordinator who's been pushing for our district to win this competition for 3 years running. Her voice gains confidence as she speaks, like she's remembering she's not as powerless as she seemed 5 minutes ago. Dr. Patricia Wells herself personally reviewed and endorsed my research before submission. The name hits the room like a bomb. Dr. Wells is the district science coordinator, basically the person who decides science funding, teacher evaluations, and curriculum for the entire district. She's also the person who would be making decisions about my own academic records and transcript. You're saying Dr. Wells knew? Principal Martinez's voice has gone very quiet. I'm saying Dr. Wells was instrumental in preparing the submission. She helped refine the research presentation, edited the abstract, even suggested additional data points that would strengthen our chances of winning. Mrs. Henderson's smile is predatory now. Our chances, Tom. The district's chances. This wasn't just my personal project, this was a district initiative. I feel like I'm going to throw up. If Dr. Wells was involved, then this isn't just about Mrs. Henderson stealing my work. This is about the entire district administration being complicit in academic fraud. Even if that's true, I say, my voice barely above a whisper, it doesn't change the fact that the research was stolen from me. Prove it, Mrs. Henderson says simply. You've got timestamps that could be faked, recordings that were illegally obtained, and the word of a university professor who has no way of knowing whether you stole the research from me instead of the other way around. Principal Martinez looks between us. The timeline clearly shows Emily was working on this before. The timeline shows Emily had access to preliminary data, Mrs. Henderson interrupts. As my student, helping with my research project. It's actually quite common for students to assist teachers with ongoing research and then misunderstand the scope of their contribution. She's rewriting history in real time, and the worst part is that it's plausible enough to create reasonable doubt. In fact, she continues, I have documentation showing that Emily was assigned to help with data collection as part of an independent study credit. Dr. Wells has copies of all the paperwork. My heart stops. That's not true. Isn't it? You spent all those hours in a lab after school. You think there's no record of that? No documentation of why a student would have access to advanced equipment and materials. Her smile grows wider. Emily, you were never doing independent research. You were doing research assistance. There's a very important difference. Principal Martinez is looking at his computer screen now, probably pulling up records. The silence stretches on forever as he types and clicks, and I watch Mrs. Henderson's confidence grow with every passing second. I need to make some calls, he finally says. Emily, I think you should go home for the day. Mrs. Henderson, we'll continue this conversation tomorrow morning. I want Dr. Wells present for that meeting. Of course, Mrs. Henderson says sweetly. I'm sure this will all be cleared up quickly. As we stand to leave, she leans close enough that only I can hear her whisper, you should have just taken the B+ and stayed quiet, Emily. Now things are going to get very ugly for you. The hallway feels like it's spinning as I walk to my locker. I thought I had her cornered, but somehow she's turned this into something so much bigger and more dangerous than I ever imagined. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number, asterisk, we need to talk. Library parking lot after school. Come alone. A friend, asterisk. I stare at the text message for so long that other students start bumping into me in the hallway. Come alone, the words make my skin crawl, but I can't shake the feeling that whoever sent this might be my only lifeline right now. The rest of the school day passes in a blur. I sit through AP history not hearing a single word about the Industrial Revolution because my mind is racing through worst-case scenarios. What if Dr. Wells really did help Mrs. Henderson steal my work? What if there's actually paperwork somewhere that makes it look like I was just a research assistant this whole time? By the time the final bell rings, I've convinced myself that I'm about to walk into either my salvation or a complete trap. The library parking lot is mostly empty except for a few cars belonging to teachers staying late. I'm scanning the area when someone calls my name from behind a blue Honda Civic. Emily. Over here. I turn to see Jessica Martinez. Wait, Martinez. As in related to Principal Martinez? She's a senior I barely know, quiet kid who always sits in the back of assemblies. I had no idea she even knew my name. Jessica. Did you send me that text? She nods, glancing around nervously. We need to talk about Mrs. Henderson. And my dad. My heart drops. Your dad is Principal Martinez. Yeah. She runs her hands through her hair, looking as stressed as I feel. Emily, you have no idea what you've walked into. My dad came home for lunch today completely freaked out, making phone calls and pacing around the kitchen. What kind of phone calls? To the district office. To Dr. Wells. To the school board president. Jessica steps closer, lowering her voice. Emily, Mrs. Henderson wasn't lying about district involvement. This goes way higher than you think. The parking lot suddenly feels too exposed, too open. How do you know all this? Because I've been watching this happen for months. My dad brings work stress home, and when he's really worried about something, he talks to my mom about it. She pulls out her phone and shows me a photo of some documents. Look at this. I squint at the screen. It's a memo from Dr. Wells to all science department heads, dated 2 months ago. The subject line reads, Priority Research Initiatives for State Competition. Keep reading, Jessica says. The memo talks about the district's need to win state recognition for science education funding. It mentions identifying promising research opportunities and leveraging all available resources to ensure competitive submissions. This doesn't prove anything, I say, but my voice sounds hollow even to me. Look at the date, Emily. This memo went out right around the time Mrs. Henderson started asking you all those detailed questions about your research, right? She's right. The timeline matches perfectly with when Mrs. Henderson's interest in my project shifted from supportive to intensely focused. There's more, Jessica continues. My dad's been getting pressure from the superintendent about science department performance. The district needs a win to justify their budget requests for next year. Mrs. Henderson winning this competition isn't just good for her, it's potentially worth millions in funding. I lean against the Honda, feeling dizzy. So they stole my research to save their budget. I think they convinced themselves it was collaboration. That you were just a student helping with a teacher's project, and somewhere along the way the lines got blurred. Jessica's voice gets urgent. But Emily, now that you've forced it into the open, they can't let it be about theft. They have to make it about something else. Like what? Like a confused student who can't tell the difference between helping with research and conducting research. Like someone who's having stress-related delusions about their level of contribution. She meets my eyes. They're going to destroy your credibility to protect the district. My phone buzzes with another text, this one from my mom, *, Dr. Wells called. Meeting Monday morning with you, me, and Dad. Says there are concerns about your emotional stability and academic honesty. What's going on? *. Jessica sees my face and nods grimly. It's starting, isn't it? I look up at her, feeling trapped and desperate. Why are you telling me this? Why are you helping me? Her expression hardens. Because I watched them railroad another student 2 years ago over something way less serious than this. And because what they're about to do to you is going to haunt my dad for the rest of his career, whether he admits it or not. She starts walking back toward the school building, then turns around. Emily. That recording you made of Mrs. Henderson. You need to make copies and hide them somewhere safe. Because I guarantee you they're going to demand you turn over all your evidence, and once you do, it's going to mysteriously become inadmissible or corrupted. As I watch her disappear into the building, I realize that Monday's meeting isn't going to be about clearing up a misunderstanding. It's going to be about choosing between my future and the district's reputation. And I already know which one they think is more important. I spend the entire weekend in a state of barely controlled panic, making backup copies of every piece of evidence I have and researching legal precedents for academic theft. By Sunday night, I've printed everything 3 times and hidden copies in my room, my garage lab, and even mailed a set to my cousin at Stanford. But nothing prepares me for walking into school Monday morning to find 2 security guards stationed outside the main office. Emily Chin. One of them approaches me before I even make it to my locker. Principal Martinez needs to see you immediately. The hallway falls silent as other students watch me being escorted like some kind of criminal. I catch glimpses of their faces, confusion, curiosity, a few sympathetic looks from kids who know me. But mostly just that hungry interest teenagers get when drama is unfolding. The main office is packed with adults I recognize but don't really know. Dr. Wells is there, looking severe in a charcoal suit. My parents sit stiffly in chairs that look way too small for them, my mom clutching her purse like a life preserver. There's also a woman I don't recognize taking notes on a tablet, probably a district lawyer. And Mrs. Henderson sits calmly in the corner, wearing her navy blazer and that same pleasant expression she uses during parent conferences. Emily, please sit down, Principal Martinez says, gesturing to the only empty chair. It's positioned directly across from everyone else, like I'm facing a tribunal. Dr. Wells clears her throat. Emily, we've called this meeting because some very serious allegations have been made, and we need to address them before they damage innocent people's reputations. Notice how she doesn't say my reputation might be damaged. Just innocent people. We understand you've been under tremendous stress this year, the unknown woman adds, consulting her tablet. Senior year pressure, college applications, the desire to stand out academically. It's completely normal for students to sometimes overestimate their contributions to collaborative projects. My dad leans forward. What exactly are you accusing our daughter of? We're not accusing her of anything, Dr. Wells says smoothly. We're trying to help her understand the difference between research assistance and independent research. Emily participated in a valuable learning experience under Mrs. Henderson's supervision, but somewhere along the way, she seems to have confused her role in the project. I find my voice. That's not what happened, and you know it. Emily, my mother says quietly, maybe you should listen to what they have to say. The betrayal in her tone hits me like a physical blow. They've already gotten to my parents, convinced them that their daughter is having some kind of academic breakdown. Dr. Wells pulls out a manila folder. Emily, we have documentation showing that you were enrolled in an independent study program under Mrs. Henderson's supervision. The paperwork clearly states that you would be assisting with ongoing research projects in exchange for credit. She slides a form across the table. My signature is at the bottom, but I don't remember ever seeing this document before. The date shows it was filed 6 weeks ago, conveniently right around when my collaboration with Dr. Torres began. I never signed this, I say, but even as the words leave my mouth, I realize how weak they sound. The signature appears to be yours, the lawyer woman observes. Are you suggesting Mrs. Henderson forged your signature on official district documentation? It's a trap. If I say yes, I'm accusing a teacher of forgery, which sounds completely insane. If I say no, then I'm admitting I signed up to be a research assistant and somehow forgot about it. Emily, Mrs. Henderson speaks for the first time, her voice gentle and concerned. I know you're confused right now. You put so much work into helping with the data collection, and I'm grateful for your assistance. But you have to understand that student research assistance isn't the same as conducting independent research. She sounds so reasonable, so caring. If I were listening to this conversation from the outside, I'd probably believe her too. Dr. Torres confirmed that my research was original, I say desperately. Dr. Torres confirmed that you brought her interesting data, Dr. Wells corrects. She has no way of knowing where that data originated or who conducted the primary research. University professors are often impressed by student enthusiasm without fully understanding the academic context. They have an answer for everything. Every piece of evidence I thought was bulletproof has been systematically dismantled or recontextualized. My phone buzzes with a text message, and Dr. Wells immediately holds out her hand. We'll need you to surrender your phone, Emily. All communications related to this matter need to be reviewed. As I reluctantly hand over my phone, I catch a glimpse of the message. It's from Jessica Martinez, asterisk, don't let them isolate you. This is bigger than they're admitting. Asterisk. But it's too late. I'm completely surrounded, completely outnumbered, and completely alone. The room feels like it's closing in around me as Dr. Wells powers down my phone and slides it into her briefcase. My last connection to the outside world, gone. The lawyer woman, who still hasn't introduced herself, makes a note on her tablet about securing potential evidence. Now then, Yar. Wells continues, we need to discuss the recordings you made of Mrs. Henderson without her consent. Emily, do you understand that recording someone without their knowledge is illegal in this state? My parents exchange a look that makes my stomach drop. They didn't know about the recordings. I was just trying to remember her advice, I whisper, but it sounds pathetic even to me. What you were doing, the lawyer says crisply, was creating what could be considered surveillance material of a district employee. That's not just illegal, it's grounds for criminal charges. Criminal charges. The words echo in my head like a death sentence. This isn't just about my research anymore. They're talking about potentially destroying my entire future. However, Dr. Wells adds, her tone suggesting she's about to offer me a lifeline, we understand that you're 17 and may not have fully grasped the legal implications of your actions. We're prepared to handle this matter internally, provided we can reach an understanding. Here it comes. The deal that's going to save them and bury me. What kind of understanding? My dad asks quietly. Emily publicly acknowledges that she misunderstood her role in Mrs. Henderson's research project. She apologizes for any confusion her claims may have caused. In return, we don't pursue the matter of illegal recordings, and this incident doesn't appear on her permanent academic record. Mrs. Henderson leans forward with fake concern. Emily, I don't want this to hurt your college prospects. You're a bright student who made some poor choices under stress. We can move past this. The condescension in her voice makes me want to scream. She's sitting there offering me mercy for crimes I didn't commit, theft she perpetrated, while positioning herself as the generous victim. And if I don't agree? I ask. The lawyer doesn't hesitate. Then we'll be forced to pursue all available options to protect the district's interests and Mrs. Henderson's reputation. That could include filing charges for the illegal recordings, conducting a formal investigation into how you obtained confidential district documents, and reviewing your entire academic record for other potential integrity violations. The threat hangs in the air like a sword. They're not just going to destroy my research, they're going to obliterate my entire high school career and make sure no college will touch me. You have until tomorrow morning to decide, Dr. Wells says, standing up. We'll need a written statement and a verbal apology to Mrs. Henderson if you choose to resolve this cooperatively. As the adults file out of the room, Mrs. Henderson pauses next to my chair. Under the pretense of gathering her papers, she leans close enough that only I can hear her whisper. I tried to warn you, Emily. But you just couldn't leave well enough alone, could you? The malice in her voice is so pure it takes my breath away. This woman who I trusted, who I looked up to, who encouraged my passion for science, she's not just a thief. She's a predator who's been playing a long game that I never even realized I was part of. After everyone leaves, I sit alone with my parents in Principal Martinez's office. The silence stretches between us until my mom finally speaks. Emily, sweetheart, maybe it's time to just accept that this got out of hand. Take their offer and move on. The fact that my own mother thinks I should surrender makes something break inside me. But as we walk out to the parking lot, I notice something that gives me a tiny spark of hope. Jessica Martinez is standing by her car, and when our eyes meet, she holds up her phone and nods toward the main office windows. She's been recording this whole time. That night, I lie awake staring at the ceiling, replaying every word from that nightmare meeting. My parents think I should take the deal. Sometimes you have to pick your battles, my dad said over dinner, not meeting my eyes. This could ruin your entire future if you fight it. But what future? If I sign that statement admitting I misunderstood my role, I'm not just giving up my research, I'm letting them rewrite reality. Every college application, every recommendation letter, every chance I have at academic credibility will be built on the lie that I'm a confused student who can't tell the difference between helping and creating. At 2 a.m., my phone buzzes with a text from a number I don't recognize, asterisk, check your email. Friends are closer than you think. J, asterisk. I creep downstairs to use my laptop since they confiscated my phone. Sitting in the dark kitchen, I open my email to find a message from Jessica Martinez's account with a video file attached. The timestamp shows it was recorded this morning through the office window. The audio is muffled but audible, and I can clearly see Dr. Wells, the lawyer, and Mrs. Henderson having what looks like a strategy session before my parents and I arrived. I plug in headphones and strain to listen. Most of it's unclear, but there are fragments that make my blood run cold. Containment is the priority. Can't let this reach the state level. Students' credibility has to be completely undermined. And then, clear as day, Mrs. Henderson's voice, the research was brilliant. I almost feel bad about how perfectly this worked out. Someone laughs. It might be Dr. Wells. My hands are shaking as I replay that section. The research was brilliant. Not the student assistance was helpful or Emily contributed valuable data. She called it brilliant and she admitted it worked out perfectly. That's not the language of someone who legitimately conducted their own research. That's the language of someone who knows exactly what they stole. I'm about to close the laptop when another email pops up, this one from Dr. Torres with an urgent subject line, Emily, important development. Asterisk Emily, I've been thinking about our conversation Friday, and something wasn't sitting right with me. I decided to do some digging into this Mrs. Henderson's background. You need to see this immediately. Can you call me first thing tomorrow? This situation is more serious than either of us realized. Also, I've been contacted by someone from your district asking detailed questions about our collaboration. Be very careful. Dr. Torres, asterisk. She's attached several documents that I can't fully make out in the darkness, but one catches my eye. It looks like a newspaper article with Mrs. Henderson's photo. I'm about to open it when I hear footsteps on the stairs. I quickly close the laptop and pretend to be getting water from the refrigerator. Emily. What are you doing up? My mom appears in the kitchen doorway, looking exhausted. Couldn't sleep. Just getting some water. She studies my face for a long moment. Honey, I know this is hard. But sometimes accepting reality is the most mature thing you can do. The word reality hits me like a slap. They've convinced my own mother that my reality isn't real. Mom, what if everything they're saying is a lie? What if Mrs. Henderson really did steal my work? She sighs and sits down at the kitchen table. Emily, why would a teacher with 15 years of experience risk her entire career to steal a high school student's project? It doesn't make sense. Because it's brilliant research worth potentially millions in funding, I want to say. Because she's done this before, if Dr. Torres's attachments are what I think they are. Because she's not the person we thought she was. But looking at my mother's tired face, I realize they've already won this battle. The adults have closed ranks, and I'm just a teenager whose word means nothing against their institutional authority. Maybe you're right, I lie. Maybe I should just sign the statement. Relief floods her expression. Oh, sweetheart, I think that's wise. We'll call Principal Martinez first thing in the morning. As she hugs me goodnight, I make a decision that terrifies and exhilarates me in equal measure. I'm not signing anything. I'm going to war. The next morning, I wake up before dawn with a plan that's either brilliant or completely insane. Instead of going straight to school, I drive to the university to meet Dr. Torres in person. I need to see those documents she mentioned, and I need someone with actual authority to understand what's happening before I walk into Principal Martinez's office. Dr. Torres's lab is in the basement of the Environmental Sciences building, and she's already there when I arrive at 7 a.m., surrounded by coffee cups and printouts scattered across her desk like she's been up all night. Emily, thank God you came. Sit down, what I found is worse than I thought. She pulls up a chair next to her computer. Your Mrs. Henderson has a history. The first document she shows me is a newspaper article from 2018, local teacher accused of plagiarism transfers districts. There's Mrs. Henderson's photo, 5 years younger but unmistakably her. She was at Roosevelt High before Westfield, Dr. Torres explains. A student there accused her of stealing their independent research project. The case was quietly settled when the student's family threatened to go to the media. My heart pounds as I read. The details are eerily similar, a promising student, months of research, a teacher who showed unusual interest in the work, then suddenly the teacher was presenting her own findings at education conferences. There's more, Dr. Torres continues, pulling up another document. I reached out to some colleagues who worked with your district before. Mrs. Henderson apparently has a reputation for being very strategic about which students she chooses to mentor. Always the ones working on genuinely innovative projects. So she's done this multiple times? I think so. But here's what's really concerning. I got a call yesterday from someone claiming to be from your district's legal department. They asked very specific questions about our collaboration, including whether I had any evidence that you weren't working under Mrs. Henderson's direct supervision. The room feels like it's spinning. What did you tell them? I told them the truth, that you contacted me independently, that your research was clearly your own work, and that I had documentation proving our timeline. Her expression darkens. Then they asked if I was aware that you had a history of academic confusion and whether I thought a high school student was really capable of the level of research you'd shown me. They're not just attacking my credibility with the school, they're trying to poison my relationship with Dr. Torres too. Emily, I need you to understand something. What they're doing isn't just wrong, it's illegal. Academic fraud, intimidation of witnesses, conspiracy to cover up theft of intellectual property. She leans forward intensely. But they're counting on you being too young and too scared to fight back properly. My parents want me to sign their statement and apologize. Your parents don't understand what's at stake. This isn't just about your project anymore, it's about a pattern of abuse that needs to be stopped. Dr. Torres stands up and starts pacing. I've been making calls all night. I know people at the state education department, at the university's legal clinic, even some contacts in academic journalism. The idea of this going public makes my stomach clench with terror and excitement. What are you thinking? I'm thinking we don't let them bury this in a high school principal's office. Your research was good enough to win a state competition, that means it's good enough to attract attention from people who actually understand academic integrity. She hands me a business card. This is Rebecca Chen, no relation, I assume, from the State Education Department's Ethics Division. She investigates exactly these kinds of cases. I've already briefed her on the situation, and she's very interested in talking to you. I stare at the card, realizing that Dr. Torres is offering me something I didn't even know existed, allies with real power. The question is, she continues, are you ready to take this beyond your school district? Because once we make those calls, there's no going back. This becomes an official investigation. My phone buzzes with a text from my mom, asterisk, Dr. Wells called. They want your answer by 10 a.m. today. Please just sign the statement, honey. Asterisk. I look up at Dr. Torres, who's watching me with the kind of intense focus I imagine she gives her most important research. Make the calls, I say. I'm sitting in Rebecca Chen's cramped state office at 9:45 a.m., 15 minutes before my supposed deadline to sign the district statement, and I've never felt more terrified or empowered in my life. Rebecca is younger than I expected, maybe early 30s, with wire-rimmed glasses and a kind of sharp focus that makes me understand why Dr. Torres called her first. Emily, I need you to understand what you're starting here, she says, spreading my evidence across her desk alongside printouts she's clearly been reviewing all morning. Once I open an official investigation into academic fraud, it doesn't just stay contained to your situation. We'll be looking at the entire district's practices, Mrs. Henderson's employment history, Dr. Wells's involvement, everything. My phone has been buzzing nonstop with increasingly frantic texts from my parents, Dr. Wells, even Principal Martinez. They all want to know where I am, why I'm not at school, whether I'm ready to put this behind me. The thing is, Rebecca continues, your case fits a pattern we've been tracking across multiple districts. Teachers exploiting student work isn't as rare as people think, but it's usually handled quietly to avoid bad publicity. What makes yours different is the institutional cover-up. She shows me a flowchart on her laptop screen. Look at this timeline. The district memo about needing a win for funding. Mrs. Henderson's sudden interest in your research. The backdated paperwork making you a research assistant. Dr. Wells's immediate involvement in damage control. This isn't opportunistic theft, this is systematic fraud. At 9:50 a.m., my phone rings. Dr. Wells's name flashes on the screen, and Rebecca nods for me to answer it. Emily. Where are you? We've been waiting in Principal Martinez's office. Your parents are very worried. Dr. Wells's voice has lost all pretense of kindness. I'm not coming in to sign your statement. There's a long pause. Emily, I think you're making a serious mistake. We've been more than generous in trying to resolve this quietly. If you force us to handle this through official channels, the consequences for you will be much more severe. Rebecca makes a keep her talking gesture and starts recording the call on her own device. What kind of consequences? Academic misconduct charges. Potential criminal charges for the illegal recordings. A formal investigation into how you've been harassing Mrs. Henderson. Her voice gets colder with each word. We'll also have to inform colleges that you have pending integrity violations. I don't think you understand how completely this could destroy your future. And if I sign your statement, then this unfortunate misunderstanding goes away, and we can all move forward. You're a bright student who got confused about your role in a collaborative project. It happens. Rebecca is frantically typing notes while listening. She shows me her screen, she's making explicit threats to coerce confession. This is perfect. Dr. Wells, I need more time to think about it. Emily, we've been incredibly patient, but that patience has limits. You have until noon to come in and sign the statement. After that, we proceed with formal charges. The call ends, and Rebecca immediately starts making notes. That was beautiful. She just threatened you with criminal charges for refusing to sign a false confession. Plus, she admitted they've been handling this quietly, which implies they know there's something to hide. My phone buzzes with a text from Jessica Martinez, *, emergency. My dad just got called into Dr. Wells's office with school board lawyers. Something big is happening. They're talking about bringing in outside investigators, but not the kind that would help you. *. Rebecca sees my face and frowns. What is it? I think they know about your investigation. They're bringing in their own investigators first. She's already reaching for her phone. They're trying to control the narrative. If they launch an internal investigation first, they can claim they're handling the situation responsibly while actually burying evidence. As Rebecca starts making rapid calls to what sounds like supervisors and legal contacts, my phone rings again. This time it's my mom, and she sounds like she's crying. Emily, please come home. Dr. Wells says you're with people who are filling your head with ideas about lawsuits and publicity. She says this could end up in the newspapers, that colleges will see you as a troublemaker. Please, honey, just come home and sign the paper. We can't afford to fight the entire school district. The desperation in her voice breaks my heart, but Rebecca catches my eye and shakes her head firmly. Mom, I can't. This is bigger than just me now. What do you mean bigger? Emily, you're 17 years old. You're not supposed to be fighting battles this big. But as I look at Rebecca coordinating with state officials, at the evidence spread across her desk, at the timeline showing Mrs. Henderson's pattern of theft, I realize something that terrifies me. I'm not fighting to get my research back anymore. I'm fighting to stop them from doing this to the next student. And they're about to bring in their own investigators to make sure that never happens. At 11:30 a.m., my phone explodes with notifications. The first one is from Dr. Torres, *, check the state education website now. *. I frantically pull up the site on Rebecca's computer, and there it is on the homepage. State Education Department announces investigation into academic fraud at Westfield High School District. Rebecca grins. We beat them to the punch. Our press release went live 20 minutes ago. My phone starts ringing immediately. It's Principal Martinez, but Rebecca shakes her head. Let it go to voicemail. They can't touch you now that this is public. The voicemail is chaos. Principal Martinez sounds panicked, talking fast about misunderstandings and outside agitators, and please could I come in to clarify the situation before it gets blown out of proportion. Too late. The next call is Dr. Wells, and her voice is pure venom. Emily, you have made the biggest mistake of your young life. When we're done investigating your illegal activities and academic dishonesty, no college in this country will. Rebecca grabs the phone. Dr. Wells. This is Rebecca Chen from the State Education Department. I believe you'll want to direct all further communications through your district's legal counsel. Also, I should mention that threatening a witness in an ongoing state investigation is a felony. The line goes dead. By noon, my phone has 17 missed calls, 43 text messages, and 3 voicemails from reporters. Rebecca fields the media calls while I sit in stunned silence, watching my small-town high school drama explode into a statewide news story. Emily, Rebecca says, hanging up with someone from Channel 7 News. Mrs. Henderson just resigned. Effective immediately. The victory feels surreal and hollow at the same time. What about Dr. Wells? Suspended pending investigation. The district is claiming they had no knowledge of any impropriety and are cooperating fully with our investigation. She rolls her eyes. Standard damage control. They're going to throw Henderson under the bus and pretend the institutional cover-up never happened. My parents arrive at Rebecca's office looking shell-shocked. My mom has clearly been crying, and my dad looks like he's aged 10 years since yesterday. Emily, my mom says quietly, we saw the news. We didn't understand how serious this was. Mrs. Chen, the other Mrs. Chen, my dad addresses Rebecca, what happens now? To Emily, I mean. Rebecca's expression softens. Emily's research will be properly credited. The state competition results will be reviewed, and she'll be eligible for the scholarship opportunities that should have been hers from the beginning. As for Mrs. Henderson, that's a matter for law enforcement now. 2 weeks later, I'm standing in Dr. Torres's lab, officially enrolled as her undergraduate research assistant even though I'm still in high school. The paperwork came through yesterday, early admission to the university with a full scholarship, contingent on graduating high school, which suddenly seems like the easiest thing in the world. Mrs. Henderson pled guilty to academic fraud and theft of intellectual property. She'll never teach again. Dr. Wells was fired and is facing her own charges for conspiracy and witness intimidation. The district settled with 3 other families who came forward with similar stories after the investigation went public. My research is being published in the Journal of Environmental Science with me as first author. Dr. Torres is second author, and in the acknowledgments, we thanked the brave whistleblowers who ensure academic integrity remains paramount. I never did get that apology I wanted from Mrs. Henderson. But last week, Jessica Martinez forwarded me an email from a sophomore at Roosevelt High, Mrs. Henderson's previous school. She said she'd been too scared to speak up 3 years ago when Henderson stole her project, but seeing my story gave her the courage to finally tell someone. Sometimes the best revenge isn't personal vindication. Sometimes it's making sure the predator can't hunt again.